Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Oscar, planner here within the Community Development Department. I'm gonna go ahead and start Project Review Committee at 1:37 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and do roll call. Again, myself, Oscar, the Associate Planner. We're joined by Jeff O'Neill, the Interim City Planner. We're also joined by Jed Hackett, the Assistant Planner. We're joined by Javier Sanchez, the Engineering and Project Management Director. James Wickersham, the Chief Building Inspector. We're also joined by Clayton Dignam, the Fire Marshal. We're also joined by David Payne out of Field Service Division. I think that is all from city staff. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open oral communications. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the committee on any matter pertaining to project review. Hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and close oral communications. So for today's project review committee agenda, we have 5 items on the agenda. For item number 1, I don't see them in the lobby at this time. So I'm gonna go ahead and postpone that one till later on in today's meeting and see if they're able to join us in a few minutes. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start with Project Review Committee number 2022-014 for property located at 542 South Larson. Jed, if you're able to kind of share the project site for us.
Can you turn on screen share?
Yes, of course.
Here we go. All right, can you guys see it?
Yes, thank you. So for this item, we have the applicant that is requesting the procedure for city municipal water services for property located at 542 South Larson Street. The subject site is currently vacant and is located outside the city limits of Porterville, but within the city's urban development boundary. Okay. As far as planning comments for this process, the applicant would have to process the annexation process of this area that would include some adjacent property owners. In order for the city to provide water services for this property, it would have to go through the annexation process that was outlined in resolution 19/2016. It has been identified that the annexation area would be considered an island annexation. So as far as the fees for a annexation of this area for that project, the fees for the city is going to require a minor annexation of $1,835, and to submit an application for an annexation for that area. There's also island annexation fees for LAFCO, which is $1,791 and is payable to Tulare County LAFCO. This project will require an environmental review in which we have outside consultants that would do the environmental review for your project. If you were to move forward and we approve the annexation and also be approved to the county annexation process, any future development of this property would have to comply with our development standards. I believe it is my understanding that a potential manufactured home would be established in the future. Just know that any establishment of a manufactured home, if you were again to move forward with your project, would have to comply with our development standards. That's pretty much it from planning. Moving along, unless the applicant has any questions for planning at this time.
No.
Okay, thank you, Cesar. So I'm gonna move it along with engineering.
All right, thanks, Oscar. Engineering, have comments on this project?
Thank you, Javier. Next with fire department, Clayton.
Fire department has no comments for an annexation.
Thank you, Clayton. Next, with building, James.
Same thing, no comments from building.
Thank you, James. Field services with David.
No comments.
Okay, thank you. That's all from staff. Again, if there's any questions from the applicant for staff at this time. Okay, I'll go ahead and just to let you know, Caesar, we will be compiling these comments in a letter and hopefully to get them out to you in about 2 to 4 weeks. And then you could give me a call after today's meeting. That way I could assist you in the process for the annexation.
Okay,
Right? Thank you, Caesar.
thank you.
Okay, moving along to the next item that we have on today's agenda, which is Project Review Committee 2022-016 for a property at 1014 South Crystal Street. Pretty much similar process. A bit different though from the previous item. We are here today to review and discuss the process for city municipal water services for a property outside the city limits of Porterville, but still within our urban development boundary. The property is currently a vacant lot and it does not meet the exemption, an annexation exemption identified under Resolution 19/2016. So in order for the applicant to receive city municipal services would be through the annexation of this area. We did have conversations with Tulare County, LAFCO, to kind of give us an idea of what type of annexation boundary we would process for this request, in which it would be a major annexation if the applicant would want to move forward. It was identified that we would have to process the all the properties on Crystal down over on the canal. If the applicant would want to move forward with the request for water service. As far as the fees, for the major annexation for the city is $3,670. Tulare County LAFCO also has their annexation fees of $3,476. This project will require an environmental review. Again, I could assist the applicants after this meeting in order to process the application if you do want to move forward with the annexation of this area. Again, due to it's a major annexation, it will require the property owners within this area to also be notified of the process and may require their vote. Any questions from the applicant at this time? No. Again, if you were to move forward and everything gets approved through the annexation process, any future development would have to comply with the development standards of the city. That is zoned pre-zone RS2, which is low density resident. All right, sounds good. Again, Rick and Ralph, we will be compiling the comments from school. Wait, is there any comments from other departments? Fire.
My only comment is not necessarily for the applicant, but just so that engineering and the city is aware. The length of Crystal Street is extreme and it is very narrow. So at some time we will have to consider a turnaround for fire department apparatus. Somewhere along that, if not at the end, somewhere in there, maybe even more than one.
Thank you, Clay. Comments from engineering with Javier.
No comments now for the annexation, but since it's vacant and then if something is built, then public improvements would be required at that time.
Thank you, Javier. James with building.
No comments from building.
Field services with David.
No comments at this time.
Okay, so no more comments from staff. Does the applicant have any questions for staff? No comments? Okay, thank you. Again, we will be providing comments in a written letter in about 2 to 4 weeks. Check. Would have given me a alert. Yes, moving on to the next item on today's agenda, which is Project Review Committee 2022-017 for Crayola Corner. Do we have the agent here with us? Or applicant? Good. Yeah, it looks like I don't see the agent or applicant for number 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and postpone that one till after number 5. See if they join us here in a bit. So we're gonna move along with item number 5. For the applicant, Nathan Wolbrock, and the agent, Mr. Greg. For item PRC 2022-018, the applicant is proposing a tentative improvement of existing building in addition for property located at 195 North Pocket Street for proposed Penrose Deck House. The plans identify a restaurant, bakery, and a cocktail lounge. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it over with Jed Hackett in the planning division to provide planning comments for your project.
Thank you, Oscar. So as Oscar said, I'll be presenting the comments for this PRC project. This is the proposed tenant improvements for an existing 7,700 square foot building with an 1,850 square foot addition of a outdoor deck and second story deck for 195 North Hockett in the DRN zone, as well as a request for a conditional use permit for alcohol sales. Going over the comments, fairly standard comments. This will be an easy project from planning's perspective. First off, to go over fees, the conditional use permit fee will be $1,164 payable after today's meeting in order to schedule for the council meeting. Additionally, a lot line adjustment fee of $616 will also be required because we will need to see a lot line adjustment for this property, as the existing lot line, one of the existing lot lines here does run where the proposed deck exists, and we do not allow structures to be built on the property line or straddling the property line like is proposed, so we'll need to see an adjustment of that. Going on from there, the parcel is located within downtown parking district number 1, zone C. Because of this, there is a ratio of 500 square feet of floor area for 1 parking space. This means that this proposed project would be required to have, would be required to have 19 parking spaces. The applicant is showing 27 on-site parking spaces, Additionally, because they are within that zone C of parking district number 1, they do get an additional credit of 5 on-street parking spaces, give for the 5 parking spaces fronting the property along Hockett. There are no parking spaces fronting along, I think, along Mill there, right there. So no parking spaces are counted for there, but the 5 along Hockett are credited for the property. From there, the main comments we'll have are mainly related to parking lot design. We will need to see some adjustment to the plans as far as landscaping. Because we are doing major improvements to the inside and we are changing the existing flow and outlay of the existing parking lot, we'll need to see some landscaping added and brought up to code. This will mean, one second, between every 8 stalls in a residential development, we will need to see a tree well or sorts. 15-gallon size tree shall be provided between every 8 stalls and also at the end of each row of parking. We will need to see there is a park, I believe, an existing landscaping buffer here. So that will need to be maintained as well. 10% of the parking area shall be landscaped minimum. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, so the northern one will need to be 3 feet wide. I don't know what the existing planter is, but it will need to be beefed up to about 3 feet, given that it is abutting an interior lot line. And then the last requirement as far as landscaping is that trees shall be planted in such a way that 50% of the parking lot will be covered by trees within 5 years. Wait, sorry, was it 5 years?
Yeah.
Shaded, yeah, within 15 years, my bad.
What if I did any solar on there? Is that a shading or is that?
Like proposing solar carports in place of landscaping requirements?
Yes.
I believe we have made that accommodation for other developments, so I think that's something we could accommodate in this as well. We'll discuss it with city planners and include that in our letter to you following today's meeting.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. That one on South Main right there at by Porterville Electric.
They have a minimum of 13.
Oh, yeah.
Minimum of 13,600.
They got a height, they have a height requirement.
And also the structure just to be architecturally compatible with the existing development. So painting the beams.
Yep.
Similar color.
Yeah, it would look good.
Okay.
Not pink. Dealing with the parking, my number being bigger, I could then use one of those stalls, of course, for our tree issues.
Correct, yes. Like I said, you do have 27 on-site parking spaces and
Right.
you are required to only have 19.
Thank
And
you.
with the street credit of 5, you could get away with having only 14 on-site parking spaces.
So you can move.
So you have room.
I do have room to move, but again, if we're looking at filling up the steakhouse, which is gonna be good, then we need the parking.
Keep in mind that you are also in close proximity to 3 city-owned parking lots, so parking is not necessarily an issue for this restaurant.
Especially the afternoon. I mean,
Exactly.
we're looking at the post office being closed after 5. That does benefit it. Thank you.
And with that, planning will go ahead and pass it on to the next department.
Thank you, Jeff. Next with engineering with Javier.
All right, thanks, Oscar. For engineering, what we looked at here will just be that there'll be some public improvements required. Like providing some accessible paths across the drive approaches, upgrading that curb ramp at the corner for accessibility. And because it's a downtown district, and then depending on the valuation of the permit, would be looking at decorative streetlights, 40 to 50 feet spacing around both street frontages.
I think the valuation on the application was 500. We put down.
Well, that's right, yeah, because we did see this in plan
Yeah.
permit review.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what engineering has on this application.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Without asking for forgiveness and probably going more permission, on the front side of the Penrose, I'm trying, not that side, the, right there,
The pocket side.
the Hockett side, I'm trying to figure out bringing in my supplies on that with a ramp. How concerning is, and this is a bad question for me to ask, but I don't want to get nailed. What's my space of sidewalk right there? Sidewalks.
So Javier, we've done it before where sometimes if you, I think that sidewalk's over 10 feet wide. We've been allowed to put like a 5-foot ramp and allow 5 foot of sidewalk clear around the ramp, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right,
Because really with the way the thing's situated, that's about the only place to really have access to bring in the supplies would be off of Hockett.
okay, like parking the truck there and then,
Yeah,
Just right there on the street, it would be golden. We're not going anywhere with the post office, and if it goes into the parking lot, and if I go the alley,
right. You know, we'd be open to, you know, seeing what you'd want to consider there. As long as we have, you know, taking into account the trees there and then the street lights, we just need to make sure that there's enough of a pedestrian clearance to get through that area.
yeah, there's one tree well right there that may need to get relocated a little bit or shifted, something like that. So, okay.
Okay,
thank you.
well, yeah, we can work on that and make sure that it's something that helps the functionality of your building.
Thank you, Javier.
You're welcome.
With fire department.
So NFPA 13 monitored fire sprinkler system will be required. When the sprinkler system is required, all valves controlling the water supply for automatic sprinkler systems and water flow switches on the sprinkler systems shall be electronically monitored where the number of sprinklers is more than 20. So essentially, it's not a full-blown fire alarm, it's a monitoring for the water flow and tamper on the sprinkler system. Underground plans will need to be submitted with the fire sprinkler plans and calculations. There is an FDC that will be required to be placed within 50 feet of a fire hydrant in an approved location where conditions permit the FDC to be located no closer than 40 feet from the building. The fire hydrant is going to be required in this case because we don't allow you to utilize hydrants across the street to meet your fire flow or your FDC connection requirement. In looking at the plan, my preference is to put the FDC and a hydrant right there between the two approaches on Hockett.
Okay,
Because that's going to give us, it's not the first.
so all our hydrants are across the street on the east side.
Yeah, unfortunately, they surrounded this all the way across the street and we can't shut down. I mean, we will shut down the road, but I can't shut it down with hydrants because I may need more apparatus. I may
Right.
need other
Right.
emergency vehicles. I may need there may be other issues going on and I can't have, a 3 or 4 inch hose line run across the street. So my preference is to put it right there in that planter. That's far enough away from the building. It'll be the second engine and it still leaves us an accessible path on Hockett for other emergency vehicles that may be responding to the scene. UL 300 compliant systems plans for cooking for the hood and ducts and all that stuff for the cooking over the ranges and all that. And then fire extinguishers placed to comply, which is 75-foot travel distance. Knox box will be required, and then address numbers shall be on the building in contrast with the building itself.
Love it.
So yeah, I was hoping that we could get away with a hydrant that I would have, but in looking at the site, there's really no way that I'm looking at it from a response standpoint that.
And there's no hydrant across from the post office?
So, yeah, I can't shut down the road though, that's the problem. So, I mean, I can't shut the road down to myself and my responding.
Yep.
Stuff, right? Because sometimes we we get in there, we're committed to an incident, and then as the incident starts to wind down, we start to free up other equipment, then I've got equipment that's trapped in there that needs to get out for other calls for service. And so we stopped allowing them to be across the street, the hydrants.
Right.
The hydrant has to be on the same side with the FPC,
Right.
so
Do you know, is the main in Hockett?
I believe that it may be. I'm not sure. I'd defer that to the water department as to where.
Okay. And we could probably walk the property and see. Usually it's not that hard.
Thank you, Clay. Any other comments? Next with building, James.
So I know you guys already submitted plans. So that would have been one comment submitted plan. Have to, just a couple comments on the plan review. Not that I've done the full detail yet, but just glancing at it. Path of travel to the trash enclosure.
Okay.
The trash enclosure looks like it's can you bring that back?
Hey, Jed, can you share that site plan again?
It looks like it's a double.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't see Mike Knight on the Zoom call, but it will require a triple.
Right.
And yeah. So path of travel to that, and then it showed an elevator in there, and it showed it showed for a deferred item, but we don't allow deferred items. So the elevator would have to be included with this project if you're gonna do the upstairs.
Yep. So what I have in there right now is not,
Well, the plans show the location and it just says future permit,
gotcha.
so it has to be submitted all at once.
Or the upstairs could be a future development.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Can
So in
you,
other words,
can you
know,
show
that
the
would
floor
be an
plan?
option.
Jed?
Well, we're just gonna not do the upstairs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do a separate permit later for that.
Am I asking right now on that elevator size? Or is that a part of that future? Because the size of the elevator of a larger one to a smaller one like they have in Fugazzi's. It's not a layout gurney, it's a sit-up gurney. And
So you'd need to be able to get the gurney up the stairwell,
So, yeah,
because it's only a single flight. So you would have to show, so is the stairway straight up and down?
Yep. Yep.
I think it's-
Then it should, as long as you can get a gurney up there, because it's usually with the turn is where you fight with the gurney.
Oh, okay, like that Bugatti, they got enough width to do that turn.
Yeah,
So if you have an issue upstairs and the fire department's gotta go upstairs with gurney to get somebody out,
they can use that.
that limited use elevator, the Lula, like.
I love it.
There's no room to get a gurney in there. So the stair has to be wide enough to get
A gurney upstairs and
gurney
down.
up and down.
Okay.
straight up.
Mhm. Yeah, so as long as you meet that, yeah.
So that's not at all-
Yeah, it's, it,
Yeah.
yeah. It's in
Okay,
the,
I'm gonna be, go ahead.
well, it's in the Division of Industrial Relations Code, and it has that section in there, so if you need to look at it, I can show you.
Okay.
And a horrible question, an elevator is mandatory.
Well, not necessarily,
It's a dumb question to ask.
no, I mean, you have to get, you have to get, a disabled person up to the second floor. So there's lifts that are,
Yeah, depending on the width of the stairs, doing the chair lift.
there's
Something along
more
those
than one
lines.
way to do
Oh,
it.
wheelchair lift. I mean,
Yeah,
The
well,
chair lift, yeah.
the elevator's costing, it's gonna be up, $150.
Right.
So if there's something that can minimize that amount, it helps the situation, but at the same time, if we're there to accommodate people that are handicapped, I mean, an elevator is gonna be the best thing, of course.
Right.
It draws less attention to a person who has to transfer from a wheelchair to a chair. And then go up the stairs slowly as everybody watches
Yep,
them, and then
yep.
somebody carrying their wheelchair up.
Yep,
and-
yep, no, it's,
But going back to the code, that there is more than one way to
To do that.
to achieve that. So,
Perfect.
I mean, if you want, we can go over that section later.
Yeah, no, it'll be good, good learning. The whole thing's learning. Anything else you got?
That's all I have at the moment. Cause it
Thank-
showed you had path of travel from the sidewalk, I believe, when I glanced at the plans.
For the trash?
No, just for path of travel from sidewalk to the entrance, so
Oh, yeah,
if you have a path of travel, I think you did.
And then more, you're gonna remove for exiting.
Yeah, that'll be all during.
Signs or do, yeah. Just ensuring that we got proper distance to an exit.
All right, thank you, James. Next, David.
Yeah, I just had a couple comments. In Mike Knight's absence, that will need to be a triple bin enclosure. And then I didn't catch Clayton's comment till later, but yes, there is a water main out on Hockett that you could tap the fire service off of.
Okay, great.
thank you.
And then the only other comments is it will have to have a dedicated landscape service along with a dedicated domestic service. Whether that's manifolded off the same, but we need the meters and backflows on each individual.
Actually, because we have a active permit for the bathrooms in there, we took that out several months ago. And when Chris Leon was still working, he was working on that for me, and we had an application, or we're trying to get a 2-inch meter into the property to run those bathrooms, and there is an existing 5/8 meter, which I would think, could that be the landscape one, and then the 2-inch would be the domestic?
Yeah, I would say so. It would just have to be upgraded with meters and domestic service would have to have a lead-free backflow device on it.
Yes, yeah, Chris already, I got the paper on it, and then we kind of just. Because we got into developing this, we kind of just set it by the wayside, but he actually did a little homework on it. I've got the sheet of paper and I can provide it, and he can tell me whether it's still valid or whether we got to do something else. So,
Okay, that was my only comment.
all right, great.
Thank you.
No problem.
Looks like that's all from staff, unless staff has any other questions or comments for the applicant. Hearing none, does the applicant or agent have any other questions for staff at this time?
I think I'm clear on kind of everything.
Yeah.
Nate and I will talk it over and see if you have any questions.
Sounds good. So yes, we'll compile all the departments' comments on the letter and we'll be able to get that out to you hopefully within 2 to 4 weeks. So yeah,
So the ABC was part of the
the conditional use permit, that's what the ABC, that's what the conditional use permit is gonna outline is in order for this establishment to have alcohol sales as part of it. If we would have to go through a conditional use permit.
Yep.
For that to get approved by the city. Okay. Any other comments or
No.
questions? Sounds good. So we're gonna go ahead and end today's meeting at 2:10 PM. Looks like we didn't get 2 applicants here today, and we're gonna have to reach out to them and reschedule their items for a future date. All right. I'd like to thank everybody and see you guys next time.
You.
I never thought of scheduling